we're finally back giving the Suzuki a bit of attention. It's been a few days since this has had anything done to it because we've been busy doing nice things and new things and race bikes. But it isn't going to build itself, so yeah, we're back on it. If I'm completely honest, all the progress that's been made on it the last couple of times it's been touched has been Rob while I've been running around learning how to use Motec and generally avoiding working on that. But it is actually coming on, so let's have a bit of a look at what Rob's been doing. We'll start with wiring, and Rob has got most of the wiring loom attached to where it needs to actually terminate to. It's been a little bit of a game because obviously we didn't take it apart, and if I'm honest, the workshop manual written in 1980, the pictures are not terribly clear, and the wiring diagram is pretty much non-existent. Turns out Suzuki actually have a completely different manual for just having the wiring diagrams in each year back in the day. So I have managed to blag a copy of the proper wiring diagram from my friendly local Suzuki dealership. So thank you to the boys at B&B in Lincoln. And I also managed to find a place online that sells laminated copies of a wiring diagram. So that's been quite useful. And we now have most of the rat's nest sort of assembled on the bike in about the right places. Rob has also put the handlebars on, which were re-chromed, top clamp, dash and everything is back on, so it's not just hanging off the wiring. Front indicators, which are massive. They're like house bricks, but it was the 80s. So there are little bits like we're just getting the wheel spindles and bits ready. And Rob is busying himself over there. He's not slacking off, just sat on his bum. He is actually working.
We're just clearing the paint off where the disc's going to go. The wheels have obviously been repainted. So we're just clearing off the disc face. They're going to run an oil stone across it, get it nice and flat. Stick the new discs on, stick some new bearings in, and hopefully we'll get the wheels in today.
Yes, that is the number one priority today, is get the wheels in the bike, because then we can actually move it off the bench if we need to. Now, part of my logic we're leaving it on the bench is then we have to work on it, but there does come a point when it would be useful to move it off the bench while we're waiting for some other stuff to turn up, like the carb rebuild kits. Old bearings removed, and the ones in the wheel looked okay on the outside because people have been smearing grease in them, but on the inside they're actually quite rusty and quite possibly over 40 years old, so some good quality Koyo bearings in it. Disc mounting points lovely and cleaned off. So we'll bolt the discs to these, and then the wheels are actually ready to go in the bike. So we've got wheel bearings fitted, we've refitted the discs with the nicely plated bolt, done the tab washers up and Loctited it, so it's belt and braces. And so the next bit is to actually put the wheels in the bike. So we actually have the sort of chassis on two scissor jacks, because on one it was a bit too wobbly. So bit by bit we're just edging up, and then we'll be ready to actually slot some wheels in. And then it'll start to actually look like a motorbike, which will be nice. I mean, it'll still look like an old Suzuki, but you can't win them all. If you're watching, Kev, we really like you, Kev. We really do. I won't say any more about the bike. Right. Unusually, the Speedo drive is not attached to anything because, of course, it's all been apart. So I can attach that into the wheel before I get too far. So that's basically the spacer for one side, which means that is the spacer for the other side. And here we go. Gentle persuader. Because there we go, look. Just like that, we have a front wheel in. A light smear of grease on our spindle because we always like it to slip in easily. Lovely. Lovely smear of lube there. Right. Important wheel fitting tool, a Thor copper and hide hammer, £2. Right. The next thing we need to do, of course, is get the wheel into the swinging arm. But we do have an advantage here. If we want to, we can have the quick release suspension mechanism and actually lower the swinging arm down to the wheel, which is actually going to make it easier because that wheel I've just weighed, and it is a stunning 19.9 kilograms. I actually weighed the sprocket carrier. The sprocket carrier and sprocket on its own weighs more than the back wheel assembly for our superbike. So that's progress. So right, we can slide this in, because we've got to get the spacers in place as well.
There's about 15 things to put in place.
Spindle is going in. Dish. But it drags on the chain adjusters as well. Right. Ready? Tapping.
Yeah.
The spacer, we weren't sure where it went. The diagram for putting this bike together is not particularly full on. Right, that spacer goes behind the disc. On this side of the wheel we have chain adjuster, spacer into the sprocket carrier and wheel assembly, and then on Rob's side there is wheel spacer, caliper hanger, then another wheel spacer, then the chain adjuster block.
No, that's not
So
going to go in there.
it's a bit of a fit. Got to be a bit careful we don't throw it on the floor as well. Tempting as it is. Oh, Rob, all of your spacers are falling
I
out.
didn't use my fifth arm.
So this is the problem. We have like a spacer that goes in the back of the disc area. Then you have the sprocket carrier that slides on there. And then you've got another wheel spacer, which is a decidedly snug fit in the swinging arm. And then you've got the chain adjusters. I'm suggesting what we do next, Rob, though, is we'll knock the wheel spindle through
to there, to
through
hold
them lot,
Yeah.
and then we'll do the next bit. Rob's just looking for another torque setting in the workshop manual that we've put on a cheap tablet. This is a bit odd with its torque settings, isn't it, Rob?
It's quite old. Well, I don't really. They give you a choice, a range. I mean that we can tighten up. It's not too bad, this one. It's between 15 and 25 newton meters on this one.
What were the rear sprocket nuts?
The rear sprocket nuts were between 20 and 45, so however strong you're feeling, take your pick. And similar with the disc bolts, I think they were between 20 and 30. So
Big range.
see how many beers you have the night before and how much energy you've got the next day as to what torque you have it.
Look what we've made. It's got wheels in it. All the way down there's the other wheel. I mean, you'll be able to see them, they're tall enough. And we've got it on the centre stand, and by far the easiest way to do that, or the way we did it, was to hook the spring onto the stand and then pull it back to get the bolts in. So everything's got quite a lot of grease in there. There's R-clips on the bolts so they can't come out, but because it's on the centre stand we can take the jacks out, and it's actually beginning to look like a motorbike, which is making Rob very happy.
Because that means it's closer to going.
It is nearly home time, but it has been a productive day on the Suzuki because it's on its wheels, which was the whole point of today. The rear one is an absolute faff to put in. The front is only a slight faff, but luckily there are two of us doing it, so it is making life considerably easier. The centre stand and the side stand are on, and I'm not going to take it off the centre stand yet because we don't have the shocks for it, because they're upstairs, so I really ought to do those fairly soon. And there's still quite a lot of detailing stuff to be done. We need to sort a bit of the wiring out still. We don't have the carb rebuild kits or the caliper seal kits yet because none of that's actually turned up. We have got a chain, so at some point we'll put a chain on it. So yeah, as they say with projects, it's 90% done, which means there's only 90% left to do.